Floodplain forests have always been refuge for the migratory life of their meandrous watercourses. Amongst Cahokia's mounds, volcanic glass from Wyoming, copper from Lake Superior, mica from Appalachia, and marine shells from both coasts have been excavated from under layers of silt deposited centuries before Hernando de Soto reached the Mississippi. Not too far from this bend in river, a Dakota band summered near its rapids to fish. Such forests seasonally flood from snowmelt in temperate regions, while monsoonal rainfall rises rivers in the tropics. Floodplains are broad, flat bottoms of river valleys, composed of sediment deposited during flooding. Minnesota's remaining forests wrap around the Minnesota, Mississippi, St. Croix, and Red Rivers and their substantial tributaries. Motives all too familiar to Mazumani, double-crested cormorants have made these forests their breeding grounds. As they're a series of obvious layovers for the American white pelican's flight to theirs. Stopping, too, for a bite before continuing to the Dakotas and Manitoba. Competing for this oxbow lake's small fish with the wading blue heron. Could any of these birds eat such a big fish? Eurasian carp were introduced to the Midwest during the late 19th century as a game fish. Omnivorous, these fish vacuum up plankton, insects, larvae, plant stems, and river weeds. Such feeding methods agitate the bottoms of lakes, stirring up phosphorus-containing sediments, promoting algae blooms. They can survive in low-oxygenated environments, like shallow, muddy, wetland waters. Carp look very similar to native sucker species. Their dorsal fins are considerably longer than those of the white and red horse suckers, however, near identical as those of the buffalo fish. Look closely at this native white sucker's mouth. Round and smooth, downward pointing, easy to confuse. Barbels. Short on carp when compared to catfish are the distinction. Completely absent from all sucker species, these organs assist carp in locating food via chemoception, particularly useful in turbid water conditions, of which carp may be significantly responsible. Eurasian carp are benthic spawners, preferring the bottoms of lake shallows and flooded wetlands of floodplain forests. Typical freshwater benthic spawners lack elaborate courtship ritual. Often, a single female is closely followed by several smaller males. These males fertilize the eggs as the female releases them. Like northern pike, carp spawn in spring-flooded vegetation. Once the embryos hatch, the young remain among the plants. Courtship behavior functions to instigate ovulation and spermatogenesis. The males of some species produce pheromones that stimulate ovulation in females. Among species, the relative importance of external factors in instigating reproduction varies greatly. For 3-spined sicklebacks, it is an increase with the amount of daylight that starts gonad maturation. Photoperiod is of little importance to Eurasian carp. Temperature regime regulates. Minnesota's Department of Natural Resources lists the Eurasian carp as an invasive species. Any species that is not native to Minnesota and causes economic or environmental harm. Native to Eurasia, these fish have certainly produced harm to the native species. Native species like the buffalo fish have disappeared from lakes of the Mississippi drainage once carp uprooted their bottoms. At what point does an invasive species become naturalized? For almost a century and a half, these fish have been here, and, at least here, walleye, flathead catfish, largemouth bass, and suckers are thriving. Humans have done much more damage to these waters, specifically with runoff of polychlorinated biphenyls. Carp now are fixtures of the valley, just as the resident robins and the summering orioles.